Smash that limiter! Everyone has to like give Spliffy some congrats. I asked him before the podcast if he was even willing to come on, considering he sounds like he's on death's door. He said no. I'm going to soldier on. So you got to give a round of applause to Spliffy. That's all right. That's okay. That is perfectly fine. I understand that, but thank you for trying. Um, so yesterday I did a fuel filter changeover. And basically I went into it knowing how to do it because I've done a fuel filter change on my car before. And a fuel filter on defaulted Navara is basically a canister filter. And it has a water sensor on the bottom. This is the reason why they're so expensive, because the plug for that water sensor is a proprietary that Nissan owns. So there's only genuine parts that will work. Aftermarket parts don't. Other people, what they do is they actually disconnect that water sensor, like the connector itself, and then they sort of mount it somewhere on the car, and then they plug in the sensor, and so then that way it doesn't throw a fault code when you use the aftermarket parts. And the aftermarket canister is just the canister, and then you've got your inlets, your returns, and all that sort of stuff. And so I don't want to go down that route because you can run into other issues doing it like that. It's just easy to just stick to genuine. It's more expensive though. However, I found that Nissan Navara.com.au, not sponsored by the way, they are a supplier of genuine Nissan parts, which is really bloody handy. And they sell their parts at a fraction of the price as Nissan themselves do. So, for example, the canister filter for my 2014 D40 Navara, which is the 140 kilowatt Euro 7 motor, Spain built, obviously with that motor, costs $368 since the last time I bought it. And I think it's more expensive now since prices have all gone up. Where on Navara.net, I bought it for $171. So that is significant savings I made on that. And then, of course, I paid for express postage because I'm saving money. I might as well get it straight away so that way I can do it this weekend. Anyway, so I've forgotten how that water sensor connector works on the bottom of the canister. G'day, Goose. How's it going? And so I'm Ray's with me, like, because we spent all day yesterday just chilling. And she was like with me, watching me work on my car and whatnot, and talking to me while I'm doing it. And I'm like to her, I'm like, how the fuck does this connector come off? I know there's a U pin because there's a little U metal bracket on it. And I'm like, I know there's a U pin on this bloody thing, and I can't see where it is. And yeah, it's all good, man. And the last time I did it, it was actually Ray's dad who ended up who took the U pin out, because like last time we did it, we were just spending ages trying to find it, because online at that stage there was nothing online on how to do it, and I couldn't remember to do it because I actually didn't physically take it out. And so I'm like looking at this fucking thing, I'm like, I know it's there, it must be underneath. And I thought, well, then how do I get it from underneath? And then I'm looking online and I find a Navara forum where guys like, it's actually easier, disconnect the hoses and then undo the canister from its holder, and then from underneath get it from underneath. So I'm like, that's right, that's how we did it last time, because last time I disconnected everything. That was actually the last thing I disconnected. So because you do this once a year. And so then I did that. I disconnected it, and then I found the U pin, and then I got a screwdriver. And having my hand underneath the connector, I then got the screwdriver and lifted it ever so slightly, because you lose that U pin, you're fucked, because you can't get it as a part on its own. You have to go to a Weckers. So It's the only way to like get that connector to stay on is electrical tape, which is what people do, but it's really dodgy doing it like that because it can sometimes just wiggle itself out because of vibrations and whatnot. And then that throws a whole fucking kettle of fault codes and limp modes, and the engine will turn off. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. Anyway, so got it out, disconnected the fuel, and then it took me all of seconds to install the new one because they're really easy to disconnect. They've got only one clamps the squeeze in type, all the others are the wire bolt tighteners. So they look two pieces of wire like that, and then a bit like that. This bit connects to like a flat plate that has a screw that goes from point A to point B, and the screw on this side has like a metal square with two little holes that the two wires of the clamps feed in like that and hook into. And then when you loosen the screw pulls them together. So then that way it loosens it, and then when you undo the screw, it pulls it tight. Yeah. So they're nice and easy. So all you do is you loosen them and then you just wiggle it to break the seal because they are under vacuum, so they're a bit tight. And then once you break the seal, it's easy to pull them off the connectors. The connectors, barbs. Take them off the barbs. Anyway, so did all that, blah blah blah. Now with diesels, you have to prime them because they're not a self-priming system because they're usually a mechanical pump, so you actually have to prime them yourself. And this is where the problem lies of choking my engine. And I'm also on an incline like that as well, just to let you know, because I can't do it on a flat surface where I am. And so got the new thing, hooked it all up, put the new connector in. All that's all good. No issues. Start the car up. She started. No dramas. All right. This is after, of course, I primed it. Sit there with there's a priming bulb underneath, and you just sit there for a while till it goes firm. Then you know that she's filled with fluid. So I primed her. I got her started. She was running fine. And then I turned her off. The reason why you do this is because you need to actually reset the fuel pump and the ECU, put it back in learning mode, because at that stage it's running with basically a fuel filter that needs replacing. So it needs more pressure because a new fuel filter has less resistance than an old one. So you need to put it in learning mode because when you turn the car on, it thinks that the fuel's got more resistance going through it because of the dirtier fuel filter. So got to put it back in learning mode so it will make it more efficient and whatnot. And so I did that, and and then I'm like, all right, cool. And she's been running for like 5 minutes at this stage after I did the ECU reset. All right, I said to Ray, I'm like, stay here. I'm going to go for a test drive. So I put in reversed out, went for a test drive. And I got around the corner and I'm driving down the hill. Everything was all fine. Like it was accelerating, it was doing exactly what it needed to do. I'm like, sweet. And as I'm going down the hill, dead. Just died. Instant off. No shaking, no jerking, no vibrations, nothing, just dead. Just motor off. And I'm like rolling down the hill with no engine running. And I'm like, fuck. I mean, I'm around the corner, so it's not so bad, but I'm like, fuck, don't tell me, like, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, suction control valve could be gone, fucking, there could be a leak, there could be a vacuum line, there could be this, there could be that, there could be pump failure, like, fuck, like, all these things are running through my mind, and my mind's like, money, 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 and I'm like, I don't afford this shit, and anyway, but I didn't think of the simple issue that it was, which is air bubbles. So what I did is I pulled over and then I put on the handbrake and whatnot, turned the car off, turned the car on again, and then tried starting. She wouldn't start. I'm like, okay, turn the car off, pop the hood, have a look to see if there's any leaks or anything like that. Fuel lines are all good, no cracks, no air getting in there. It looks all good. I'm like, okay, so it must be an air bubble. We'll try that first. So I reprimed it again, and I realized that the priming bolt had emptied, so the fuel had gone back to the return, back into the fuel tank. So when it was driving, basically it just cut off and had no fuel in it. I'm like, okay. So, which made me think of an air bubble, because an air bubble will do that. An air bubble will actually stop fuel from going into your pump because it gets stuck in the pump, and with the air bubble in your pump, you can't um, basically get fuel. So what I did is I primed it, started, didn't work. Primed it, started, didn't do it. And doing that gets the fuel pump going, gets the injectors opening. It sort of helps release the air in the system. And then I thought, okay, there's another trick that I do know that works, because when you change a fuel filter, it's handy to undo your fuel cap, so then that way air can escape. And the reason why you want that is if you don't depressurize your fuel system by undoing your fuel cap, when you disconnect your fuel hoses, it will just like squirt fuel all over you. It makes a huge mess. Trust me, know from experience. It was in a Commodore and I didn't do it, and I fucking got drenched in fuel. And then next time I did it, I undid the fuel cap to depressurize it, and then I undid it, and it was only a trickle coming out. So, because it depressurizes it. So I did the exact same process, but instead with the fuel cap open, allowing air to escape back end and front end. So by turning the car over, it tries to, and priming it, it's trying to push the air out of the system. And it worked. She cranked for a little bit and then started. Now, when I'm doing this, I'm only cranking for a couple of seconds and turning it off. The reason why I do that is you cannot, on common rail diesels, dry run your injectors. If there's no fuel going through your system, your injectors will overheat real fucking quick and they'll burn out, and they're $1,000 injector. And you have 4 of them in this car. So that's $4,000 to replace your injectors if you burn or fall out. So you do not want to do that. Oh, they're easy. They're really easy. To take out your injectors, you just take off your cover, you undo your fuel line, which is only a few like brass nuts and stuff like that, and then you take it all out, and then you just, the injectors are exactly like spark plugs with a little bit more steps involved. So they're not hard. Like, it's not a hard job to replace an injector. The hard part with injectors, and this is where you need a professional, is injectors need to be tested for tolerances. So, like, you can't just go buy an injector and put an injector straight in. Really? I wonder if it's your voice. Hang on a minute. Yeah, you're right. It's not coming up. Hang on a minute. Desktop audio. Audio. Thanks for telling us that, Ray. Yeah. Properties. Okay, talk now, Spliffy.
Hello,
There we go.
how are you?
Yeah, OBS had an update, so I think it's fucked itself.
Why does
Anyway,
OBS do this?
Goose is falling asleep in the podcast seat while I avoid the potholes for a while. I love that. That's cool.
My voice is gone because I picked something up. And ironically enough, in what I've learned in my life is that when my voice goes, this is going to sound so ironic. When I lose my voice, it's actually a sign that I'm getting better. And I don't know why. But either way, I lost my voice because I caught something essentially.
I needed to turn the fan on because it's getting pretty fucking hot in here. Oh.
Some sort of virus.
So fucking warm at the moment. It's like what's the temperature?
Hang on, I wonder if we can make it even better than
29 degrees in this room at the moment. So,
Luke, hang on, let me check. Yeah. Luke, I am your father.
You sound better with that
Luke, I am your father.
That's funny. Okay, so yeah, she started and then was fine from there. So if you're doing a fuel filter change and again air bubble in your system, what you do is you crank the car a couple times, undo the fuel cap, crank the car a couple times, and then Just keep doing it every so often. Don't do it like one after the other. You got, like I said, you don't want to overheat those injectors. Even in a petrol car, you don't want to. And that should work the air bubbles out eventually. So, yeah, that's what happened yesterday. And I made a couple of shorts on it yesterday, and I fucking loved it because there was a bit on the short where I'm just like, you do this, you put your catch can, you start it up, and I'm like, she's gonna run shit.
Yeah.
But that's okay because that's, like I said, the computer thinks that it's running with resistance, so it won't run properly usually after you do that. And the guy's like, he loved it. He loved the comment because I said shit. Well, it's true. I'm not, beating around the bush.
No, fair enough.
Yeah. If you chuck if you chuck a match in the fuel tank, you just clog your lines up. You won't blow up your fuel tank.
It just has to be under like intense pressure.
Can I? I can't play that.
Right?
I can't play that though, can I? That video. Let's watch it. Let's watch the video that I was talking about.
All right, go for it.
It's really weird searching my name comes up on Google.
We're just gonna have a shameless self plug here at the moment, Ray.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. It wasn't part 1 though, was it? I'm pretty sure it was bloody part.
You should have just just click the link.
Alright, here we go. Alright, sorry. Alright, little plug here. Alright. I reckon it's this one here. Wait, what one was the one that raced it?
It's in the chat. It's almost at the top of the chat bar.
I can't copy it though. That's the annoying thing about it.
What do you mean? Okay. Alright. Hang on. Whoops.
Hello everybody, so we're going to change the fuel filter.
It's in the chat.
I did not mean to. I did click it, but it opens up in a small little fucking weird menu. I don't know why it does that. Anyway, here we go.
Hello everybody, so we're going to change the fuel filter on this 2014 D40 Navara. Now how to do that, you must disconnect this clip.
So that's the electrical clip there.
Then disconnect the... Hello everybody, so we're
It's
going...
not the video, Ray. What are you talking about? There we go. Alright.
Oh,
Alright. I reckon it is part 3, I reckon.
Once you've done that, you put your new replacement in there, you get it all in there, hook it all up, put everything in reverse. Then you start the car, try and get, reverse back. Prime it with a priming bulb, then start the car. Once you've done that, you put your new replacement in there, you get it all in there, hook it all up, put everything in reverse.
I wish it would continue on with the shorts, but it doesn't really do that at all.
Yeah, like it auto plays the shorts instead of looping over itself. I totally get what you mean.
This is a video here. It's like you run shit.
You're doing ECU or... So once she's primed, you start the car. The car might run a little bit shit, to be honest, at the start, but that's okay. That's normal. Once the car starts,
that's the fuel injectors there.
You then turn her off, and then you do an ECU.
Oh, right.
So once she's primed, you start the car.
So it's a pretty easy thing to replace them. It's just, you can't, you need to get a professional fuel management mechanic, essentially, like an injector mechanic or something like that.
An oddly specific job.
It is very specific, and the reason why is they have to set the tolerances of the injectors manually or electronically, depending what type of injectors your car uses. The reason for that is you can have an injector over pressurized or under pressurized that can cause damage. For example, there was a mechanic that I had negative dealings with. Not Nissan, but I'm not going to name them, but they're good when they don't have a mistake, but when they have a mistake, they blame fucking you or someone else. I don't like that in mechanics. Okay, so this guy went in there with a '79 Land Cruiser V8, so V8 diesel. He needed new injectors because they failed on him, and so he bought new injectors and paid for them a lot of money. Remember, these are like over $1,000 an injector. So he paid a lot of money to get them to installed. And a week later, the injectors turned out to be done incorrectly with the amount of PSI they were putting out. And I can't remember the exact specifics of it, but he basically turned around and said, like, it blew up his motor. His motor was junk afterwards. Sent rods and shit through the block and like all sorts of stuff.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it was bad. Yeah, turned out the injectors weren't tested prior to putting them in by the mechanic.
Oh,
they were over pressurized, or something was wrong with them anyway, and they blamed the supplier. They're like, it was the supplier's fault, and it's like, yeah, but you're the one that installed it. You're supposed to test it before, and I know. Diesel specialist mechanics have injector testing. So it's basically like a little rack thing that they put the injectors in, and then they have like recordings, and they can record the injector pressure and stuff like that. And they use them to see if an injector is going bad or not for diagnostics purposes. A lot of them have it that are specific for diesel specialists or fuel management specialists, like an injector mechanic. A mechanic, literally, their speciality is the fuel delivery system in cars. Just like tuning and all that, they do it as well, usually as well. So, so they put these injectors and didn't test it, and it ended up costing this guy a motor on his '79 Series Land Cruiser, an expensive motor. But they wouldn't own up to the fucking problem. So he ended up being stuck in an argument between them and the supplier, arguing whose fault it is. No one took responsibility, so all the cost was on him.
Oh, wow.
Mind you, he paid them to fucking do it too, and they wouldn't refund his money. So,
that's messed up.
Yeah.
Surely you would at least refund the money and say just go somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly.
That way you don't have to deal with it after that.
Yeah, well, they fucked me over in their own way as well and blamed it all on me. But the problem with them, the dumb fucks that they are, they had it written down on paper and gave it to me. So they couldn't really argue that one, unfortunately, for their fault. So yeah, when you go to mechanics and stuff, the lesson is be mindful of reviews and stuff like that, and be mindful of word of mouth, because people will generally go on and on about the bad about a company.
Yeah.
Because that's generally people love negativity. Okay. Take the 79. Take the AMD graphics cards, right? Everyone goes on and on about the fucking drivers, right? Everyone's negative about one thing, not realizing that now drivers are working perfectly fine and the cars are working really good, if not better than Team Green. And same with the CPUs of AMD as well. The CPUs have got such negative emotions around them and whatnot because of quirks and stuff like that, but people have been running on their systems without any issues. It's just the people that have had bad experience, they just jump up and down the loudest, that's all. So you got to take a lot of things with a grain of salt. The key things to look out when looking at anything, this doesn't just go for mechanics, is you want to look at how they negotiate with fixing the problem. That's the important part. One person could just be disgruntled and then carrying on about something, but it turned out the mechanic told them prior, and the mechanic actually compensated them for them, and then they're just still jumping up and down. That is the part that I would look into, is like, what did they do to fix it? Did they try to fix it? Okay, they did try and remedy the issue. They did make mistakes. They owned up to it and remedied. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I'd much rather an honest mechanic that makes mistakes and will own up to it than a mechanic that doesn't. And there's another mechanic that's locally mine that a friend of mine, they put their car in to get a service done, and they ended up on the drive home dumping all their coolant on the fucking ground.
Oh, God.
They immediately turned the car off, got a tow truck to take it back to the mechanic. And what had happened is the radiator split.
Oh,
And the
fuck.
mechanic instantly wouldn't own up to it. And I was like, those radiators don't just split. Like the only way those radiators split is if you lean on them. So I reckon what was happening is when they were getting the service done, and all they were doing is getting an oil change. I reckon the mechanic leaned over and cracked the top of the radiator.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And that's where it was leaking from. But they wouldn't own up to it. They wouldn't fix it. They had to go to another mechanic to replace the radiator, and the radiator was like quite a few $100. So that's a problem. It's like, because they were like, oh no, it was doing that beforehand. It's like, no. And this is
that's not something that just randomly
exactly
happens beforehand.
Exactly. And mechanics will go to you, prove that it wasn't like that beforehand. I'm sorry, legally you do not have a grounds to stand on, because according to law, it is presumed working when you dump a car off to get fixed. So, for example, you're getting a car service, right? It is presumed that everything is working functionally when you drop the car off to just get a service done, which means that besides an oil change that is required, there should be nothing else wrong with the car. So if someone gets it back and they're like, dude, my fucking radar is leaking all over the place, it is not up to the customer to prove that it was working functionally before it went in. Once it's handed over, it is actually the responsibility of the mechanic on that car. So if something was leaking, it is their responsibility to let the customer know that their radiator is cracking. So that means if it was cracked previously and leaking coolant, as if you wouldn't fucking notice when you did a test drive, or as if you wouldn't fucking notice when the car was first delivered to you, because you would notice, because you would have had to driven it in. And if it had a leak in the coolant, it would be leaking coolant over there. And then you go, oh, fuck, call up the customer. Hey, mate, just let you know that your radiator is leaking coolant all over the place. We just drove it into the workshop now. So for a customer to pick it up and then drive home and then suddenly just dumps all its coolant, but yeah, it wasn't doing that when it was in the mechanics, it is guaranteed the mechanics made a mistake and damaged it. Because otherwise they would have let you know. So that whole argument never really makes sense when mechanics do that. But unfortunately, people aren't willing to take mechanics to courts, unless it's Jarvis Ford. Because like I don't know anything about him, but every time I have been to court for, like, usually for someone else, like disputes over civil matters or whatever, every time I've got into the local courthouse, Jarvis Ford is always in there. Someone's suing him for something.
Oh, wow.
I don't know why. I don't care. It's not like, I don't know whether they're bad. I don't know whether the customer's lying. You don't know. I'm not going to assume they're bad or give them a bad reputation, defame it. I'm not doing that at all. But it's just weird that on 3 separate occasions over multiple years, I have seen a different case involving them. I don't know what's going on there, but
he's just really bad at his one job.
I don't know. I don't want to know either. It's none of my business. But I found that really interesting. But yeah, you pretty much, a lot of these cases, if you want something done, you have to take them to court. Which, if you've got money, do it. Fuck these guys. They need to learn. Because the problem is, if more people did that and more people took these like mechanics to court that destroyed your car, the onus is now going to be put on them more to do a better job, and that's all we want. We want them to do a job that's better. We want to get the money that we're paying out of them. And I feel sorry for mechanics because they are worked really hard. They don't get paid much, and they work shitty hours, and it's a shit job. You know, it's dirty, it's grimy, you're always hurting yourself, you're in uncomfortable positions. A lot of mechanics go in with a passion of loving cars, come out fucking hating it. A lot of my mechanic friends have all like stopped working in it, and I trust these people. These people are good mechanics, but they just had enough of the administration side of things in the workplaces. So
Yeah, it's always the admin part that like just ruins it.
Yeah,
It's like, why can't you just let them do their job?
exactly. You know, they have all these cars in, and they don't allocate the adequate time or staff to like get the jobs done. They overwork them. You know, it's not a fun job at all, and that's also why like a lot of mechanics drive around shit boxes. And it's because they can't afford a nice car, and two, when they get home, they couldn't be fucked working in their own car. So
Yeah.
So that's why, me personally, I never wanted to be a mechanic because of like those many factors. I could have been a diesel mechanic. Like I would have probably enjoyed that because diesel mechanic's different. Working in big rigs and stuff like that, it's still stressful. It's still hard work, but you're paid better usually. So, and then also because it's not the mundane car stuff, because it's more commercial side of things. I find diesel mechanics tend to not lose their passion the same as car mechanics do. So,
What do you think that is?
I think it's diversity. I think a lot of diesel mechanics tend to work on multiple different things.
Okay.
And like interesting things, and things arise, and yeah, it's a different environment from the people that I know that do it. It's not like your franchise like Ultra Tune and all those like sort of Kmart Tire and all. It's not like those big fucking franchises that just pump cars out low tomorrow and overwork you for pay. It's like you're the dedicated diesel mechanic at a truck business, at a, you know, airports. You're the diesel mechanic at an airport, maintaining all the airport vehicles. Military diesel mechanics, you know, they get to work on all sorts of cool things.
Oh yeah, I'd imagine so.
Yeah. You know, mining, you get to work on those giant dump trucks and fucking graders, and all, like there's more variety and more cool things to do and whatnot. These mechanics work on trains, yeah, all sorts of things. So I think that's why. Because even like diesel mechanics in the council tend to be a little bit more happier. Although I feel sorry for them because they're usually by themselves, having to maintain a fleet. So the sole responsibility of that fleet is on them, of all the rubbish trucks, all the fucking council trucks, and all that is all their responsibility, as well as obviously the work vehicles as well is done by them. So like all the utes and stuff. So yeah, it's quite interesting, really. But yeah, it's not an easy life. So I do feel sorry for them, but it's just, I'm just sick and tired of people in this day and age not owning or taking responsibility for mistakes. Like at my work, if a mistake's made, we apologize, we fix it then and there. And our customers are usually really happy because, you know, we're sincere. We're not like, oh, it wasn't me, so I don't care. We're not like that at all. We apologize. We feel bad. Because there's nothing worse than like someone just wanting to get what they want and then just go home and not have to fucking worry about anything, and then something goes wrong. And then they have to sit there waiting and all that sort of stuff. And it's just like, you know, it's annoying. So just try and fix it as best you can and get them moving on without any fuss, you know? So
Yeah, because it's. I find that when people buy things, they're not buying things to own something. They're buying things to alleviate something that's stressing them from their in their lives.
yeah.
So people will pay good money for a good car service.
Exactly. Yeah.
if that's what stops stops them from stressing out about needing to get a car service.
Yeah. And that's why I do things myself because um one, I know the car's going to be looked after because it's me because I care about my own car.
You don't really have
Two,
much of a choice in that regard.
it's going to be cheaper for me to do it myself. And three, I can schedule it when I have time, which means I can do it whenever. So if I can do it before the due date, like a week before the due date or whatever, I can do it a week before the due date. I don't have to rely on someone else's schedule. I only rely on my own schedule. So it's a lot easier. And like everyone should learn how to service their own car. It's super duper easy. Um, it's very basic. You don't need many tools like jack stands, a funnel, and a ratchet and spanner set, and that's it. It's really not complicated. And it would save you a lot of money. Like, for example, Ray's car costs 100. No, actually costs 40 something dollars for the oil. And then it's like $15 for the oil filter. So if you're just changing the oil, it's like what? Nearly $60.
That's
Your
not
time.
too bad at all.
Yeah. Where if you were to take it in, it'd be like $200.
Mm.
So, you know. And then same with like spark plugs and stuff like that. Like her spark plugs are due soon, as well as all the air filters and stuff like that. So even that, spark plugs like $5 a spark plug, and there's 4 of them or something like that, $4 something. So just swap them out. It's really not complicated. And yeah, saves her a lot of money. That's why a lot of people in lower economic areas tend to be more mechanically minded, and it's because they just simply can't afford to pay someone to do it themselves. So they just do it themselves. So,
Yeah, necessities are the mother of invention,
Exactly,
although not
yeah.
entirely appropriate for this context, but I'll run with it anyway.
yeah, well, like Chris Fixer always says, you pay money into buying tools because it's an investment because it'll save you more money down the line. All my tools have saved me thousands of dollars. Like, can you imagine me paying someone to change the alternator on my D40? Or like even the Commodore?
Yeah.
Or like with the Commodore paying someone to do all my brake rotors and stuff like that? Like, it would have been over $1,000 to pay someone to do all that, and I did it all myself. So yeah. And my laser, changing the clutch thing, that would have been like a few $100s. The only thing I can't do is big jobs. And it's not because I physically don't have the space to do it. So for example, when the clutch is ready or the timing chain is ready in the D40, I don't have the physical tools to drop that gearbox and transfer case because my jack stands do not go high enough to be able to lower the case down to then pull it out from under the car. The case is so big that I will hit on everything. So I need to pay someone to do that, which sucks because it's $4,000.
Oh crap!
Yeah, it's expensive. The reason why is because when you do the clutch on them, you got to replace the flywheel and everything like that. It's a full job. It's not an easy job. And I just physically can't do it. I just don't have a lift. I don't have the space. I don't have a gearbox jack because you need a gearbox jack to do it because it's got like straps that go over the gearbox and it's got a cradle like that and then it lowers it down because it's fucking heavy. You can't lift that gearbox on your own. It's a few hundred kilos. Yeah. So so I can't do this. So I have to pay someone to do that because I just can't do it. I wish I could do it, but I just can't do it. In the future, I'd like to be able to have the tools to do it. Like, I really want to be able to have space to have a lift in the future when I build. Like, I'm not after building like a big house, but you can get max jacks. No, not max. Yeah, it is max jacks. So max jacks are like a portable car lift. and they're low profile, so they're designed for going in garages and stuff like that. And they can lift like up to 3 ton, I think. See if I can.
All right, that'll do it.
Yeah, they're really handy for like do-it-yourself people. You can get bigger ones. Here we go. So these. So they're max jacks. So the way it works is it's portable. So it's a 2-poster, and you usually have mounting points in the hole. So you still need to dart a bolt into the ground. But the difference is you can put these away. So it's really good for like a small garage, like, kayak in this, where you can unbolt it and whatnot, and then take it off and then reel it out and put it in the corner out of the way.
Right,
And
I
then
see.
then the hydraulic pump here is portable as well. So these are all quick disconnectors. So you just quick disconnect them and pack it away and whatnot, and there you go. I don't know. It really depends, like how I'm able to build and whatnot. I would like a taller garage to fit my car in it, so I can do something like this. But if I can get a high enough roof, I might just go for a permanent 2-poster in there. But I don't know, because once upon a time, this sort of setup would cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. But nowadays, a 2-post lift, you can get them for like $1,000.
Oh, really? That is
Yeah,
actually
1,000, 1,500.
quite
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. You can get them pretty reasonably priced, especially on special, or you can get secondhand ones for like really good price. Like if you look out for like mechanics that are closing down or something like that, you can get them a pretty good price. Like, I mean, this one here is a 3-tonner, so 3 and a 4, 3, 4. And that's a 4.5 ton, which is a pretty big one, and that's like 2 and a bit. So you can get all sorts of you can look around and find good prices. Things have gotten a bit more expensive lately though because of the inflation and whatnot. But
Yeah, of course.
these go up and down. It just really depends what sort of type you get. Like a single phase one's cheaper than a 3-phase one. I would get obviously a single phase hoist. So, but yeah, you can get all sorts of. This is just normal car jacks. These ones are really good for trucks and stuff because they work on pneumatics, so they're an air. They're like 40 fucking jacks, yeah, for big heavy trucks. These things, don't buy these. This shit. They're for like motorbikes. These are another option that you could do for like someone like you, Spliffy. That's really expensive for what that is, but that's a quick jack. But this is a quick jack knockoff, and it's basically a scissor jack. And the same thing, you got a hydraulic pump, and it uses hydraulics, and you got a locking mechanism, and it jacks the car up enough so you can get under and work under there. The good thing about these type of jacks, though, or these type of, I should say, hoists, is it saves the time of fucking around. So, AliExpress, I don't really trust them, but it saves you the time. So I just realized the chat. It saves you the time of fucking around. Like, when I have to jack my car up, I have to get the 3-ton low-profile jack, and I got to jack it up, and then I'm going to put car stands on it, and then I got to let it down, and then I got to go to the back of the car, and then jack that up, and then put car stands on it. It's a pain in the ass where I can just drive in, done.
Save yourself time.
Yeah.
It's the best, honestly. Saving time is probably one of the best ways to save money as well.
Yeah, exactly. I still need to, servicing my car, I still need to take the wheel arch out and the wheel out and all that sort of shit. But at least it's easier.
Yeah, true.
On a hoist. So yeah, the only hard part is probably lifting the tire up. So, but I can always lower it down to the ground and get the tire on and lower it up and do it up. So yeah. So I would really like that possibility, but life is funny like that. And then hell, in the future, cars might not need much maintenance at all, and or they'll make them so fucking complicated you can't do it yourself.
Yeah, I'm thinking that they're gonna make it more complicated.
They are, I think, they're going to try and restrict people's repairing, so you have to use them.
Yeah,
A lot of like
that would be interesting.
a lot of European cars are like that. They make things overcomplicated, so then that way it's harder for the general public to fix it themselves.
Yeah.
That's why they bring out these stupid bolts that have like a specialty tool and all that shit. Race cars are a good example of that.
Oh God, what's wrong with race car?
So Hyundai's fuel cap access, you need a specialty tool to undo it.
Fucking
It's
hell.
really expensive to buy too. So
Of course it is.
yeah. A lot of what people do is they get a three jaw a bearing pulley, a big fucker,
Yeah.
and they put that over it, and then they twist it off that way. Because all it is a twist cap, but it's like got weird ridges and shit like that. It's super weird.
Would a oil wrench work?
Oh, it's like this big. It's massive. So
Oh,
yeah.
why is it so big? If it's just a cap.
I don't know. Doesn't make sense. And they have a weird brake caliper system as well, where it's actually a screw in.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to get a specialty which I bought for Ray's car.
Right.
Where it's got the reason for it makes sense. It's the problem with rear disc brakes is the handbrake doesn't work. The reason why it doesn't work is because a handbrake on a rear disc brake system on a car still works the same as a drum brake system works. So usually you
Right.
have your rotor, which is the disc, and then you got
Yeah.
your hydraulic brake, which is the standard clamp, standard shoe clamp on here.
Yeah.
The handbrake is actually a shoe brake that sits inside the hub of a rear disc car. So like Land Cruisers all have them, the Commodores have them, Fords have them, and so it's like just a random shoe that sits inside the hub of a rear disc. And so when you pull the handbrake, it pulls the cable which extends the brakes, and they hit the inside of the rotor to hold the car.
Yeah. Did I tell you that mine got frozen twice during winter this year?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you break.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mine froze.
that's pretty bad. That means there's a lot of water in there.
Yeah, I think they flushed it out.
Yeah.
After the fact, but that's neither here nor
Yeah. So, I was saying, yeah. So, what happens, right? The shoes are usually really small as well, so they're usually they're undersized for the weight of the car. In most cases, like especially in Commodores and whatnot. But the other issue is the axle seals can sometimes leak a little bit, and once you get oil in there, like from the diff and whatnot, from the axle, that makes them they just don't work once that gets in there as well. So, they're like really common problems that happen with them, but that's also why they're just not efficient. They don't work as well. They're not as strong. They're not as they don't adjust either. So like when they get worn over time, they don't extend out further because they're not hydraulically driven with a piston. That's why you can keep braking even when your brake pads go really low, because the piston just extends further and further. Where on the handbrake it doesn't, because all it is one cable. I mean, you can adjust it manually, but it's a pain in the ass. People just don't usually. And then most time it doesn't work anyway, especially on Land Cruisers. So Hyundai, in their brilliant idea, thought, well, that system is shit. And I agree with them. It is shit. So what they did is they have a handbrake attached to their brake pad. So on the outside, like where your hydraulics also driven into as well.
Yeah.
And the way it works is the cable still pulls the pad and activates the cylinder. So it has a manual activation on the brake cylinder as well as a hydraulic activation. Essentially, that's the way it works. But the difference is it screws in and out on this cylinder. So when you take the brakes off and you go to push them in, it won't push in because you're using a normal brake compression tool to push the cylinder in, so then that way you can get the brake pads and put the new brake pads on. So then that way you can just fit it over the rotor and gives you your clearances to put the new brake pads on, because obviously it's adjusted for the worn brake pads, so it sits out further than a brand new one. And so the idea of this corkscrew cylinder is so then that way, when you're using the manual handbrake, it auto adjusts itself. It works itself out and adjusts to suit the worn levels of the brake pads.
Yeah.
But it doesn't ever work because they get clunked up with brake dust and all sorts of stuff. And the hydraulic will still work. The hydraulic will still push it in and then push it out, whatnot. But the handbrake won't do it very well. And we replaced the brake pads. I cleaned out the brake caliper and everything, and it still didn't work. The handbrake still didn't work. So yeah, but when I was pushing, I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then I looked at the manual, and it was like, "You need to get a specialty tool." And I'm like, "Fuck!" So I had to go and buy a specialty tool. And what it's got is on the brake cylinder. There's like these two little knobs, like little holes here, and the brake caliper compression tool is basically like it's like a G clamp, and it has multiple different discs to fit all sorts of cars with this exact same design. So BMW sell them, Hyundai, there's a few. I think Mercedes had one as well. There's a few of them.
Yeah.
And so I can do any car with this basically. And you put the cylinder, like little piece of metal, little probes, tangle, what you call it, locking mechanism, I guess, and you put it up here, and then you twist it and twist it, and it twists the cylinder in, and then allows you to get the cylinder back in its caliper, and then you can change the brake rotors and whatnot. So things like that manufacturers design make it really hard for enthusiasts and backyarders to do it themselves, because if I didn't live in like a populated area with many different commercial part sellers that sell unique parts like that, you'd really struggle to be able to do that stuff on your own, because like without that tool you can't do it.
Impossible, really.
Yeah, you need that tool. And there's a lot of other cars that have specialty tools, and they're really expensive too.
Yeah, I bet.
So, yeah. What do you think about audio stuff? Do you think it's best for people to do it themselves?
Yes and no. Sorry.
That's all good. I'm just asking you.
So when hello Reggie, how are you? When it comes to audio, audio has really dumbed down the complexity has really dumbed itself down over the last, say, 10 to 20 years.
Yeah.
So the way in a typical live sound or in a studio, you need to have a microphone cable, excuse me. that then goes into a console of any degree
Yeah.
or any size or any scale. And then that goes into an amplifier, and then that amplifier then goes to speakers to get you the sound that you're after.
Yeah.
There are many complexity. There are also some complexities in audio, such as impedance matching and wattage matching.
Yeah.
So, a standard speaker, which is pretty much all speakers nowadays, the woofer will be about 8 ohms.
Yeah.
So it's just a copper wire that winds around what looks like toilet paper, like a
Yeah.
cylinder of toilet paper, and there's just so much copper that it ends up producing 8 ohms of resistance.
Yeah.
And then you have the tweeter, which has about 6 ohms of resistance. And then
Yeah.
when you get the crossover, excuse me,
You're all good.
when you include the crossover in that, it'll add up to about 8 ohms in the end. So if you get just a what's it, a passive speaker which doesn't have an amplifier built into it,
Yeah.
it's just its own speaker that you have to buy an amplifier separately. If
Okay.
you put a connector into there and you put a multimeter on the positive and negative terminal, it'll come out with 8 ohms.
Okay.
And then you want to find an amplifier that produces at least 8 ohms of output impedance.
Yeah.
And then you can hook that up just fine. There won't be any problems, assuming that the speaker that you've put up, that you've connected the amplifier to,
Yeah.
can handle the output wattage that the amplifier outputs. Otherwise, if you put out too much, it'll burn out the voice coil,
Yeah.
and your speaker will sound like it's farting. It's a really bizarre situation. There's the beauty. I thought it was a detriment, say 4 years ago, when I learned that there were about 26 different connectors for in audio visual.
Yeah.
As time's gone on, I've learned that that's a bit of a blessing because you can't get your input mixed up with your output. So, say for example, XLR, which is your standard 3-pin connector, if that
Yeah.
was the same as on your input as it was on your output, chances are you'd plug your microphone into an amplifier and blow up your amplifier, and you blow up your microphone and probably your amplifier at the same time.
Oh, really?
But yeah, because it's like a few thousand watts. I mean, you can get a few hundred watts at least coming out of the amplifier,
Yeah.
and the amount of wattage that's coming out of a microphone is like barely anything. That's why you
Yeah.
need a preamp. In terms of specialty stuff, I don't think there's really necessarily any specialty stuff. It's
Yeah.
it's more just learning about. Oh, actually, I've actually got a direct injector. So I've got a Samson MD1 monodirective passive box. So I was recording guitar.
Yep.
I've got a Vox Pocket amplifier that plugs into my guitar,
Yep.
and then I've got a Zoom H5.
Okay.
So when I plug the Zoom H5, there is actually one thing that I'm thinking about now that does confuse a lot of people. It's mic level, line level, and an instrument level, all the exact same connector, but different impedances for a better result, essentially.
Yeah.
So when I plugged my pocket amplifier into my Zoom H5, it sounded really noisy, and the actual signal was very minimal as well. So when I tried to amplify it, it just sounded like a lot of hiss. It was just hissing
Yeah.
a lot. And the actual sound of the amplified guitar was just not there at all.
Yeah.
And then I remembered that I have this direct input injection box, and then I plugged my guitar. I plugged the my pocket amplifier into the DI box, and then from the DI box to the Zoom H5, and it cleaned the audio up right away,
Oh yeah.
and it just sounded infinitely better.
Yeah, so I think I would give it a crack because I've done my like full sound systems and stuff like that before,
Mm.
on my own. So yeah, I think I could do it.
It's not as complicated as it used to be because, like, not that I
Yeah.
knew how complicated. We're talking back to the 90s when it was a hell of a lot more complicated
Yeah,
because not all speakers had the same impedance. You had to actually do a lot of research
yeah,
to figure out, okay, what speaker is actually compatible with the amplifier that I have.
yeah, yeah,
And that's essentially how it went up until about the 2000s when they said, no, we need to scrap that whole system,
yeah,
and everything just needs to be 8 ohms because that way it's just a hell of a lot easier to actually just mix and match your speakers. So so that way you're not locked into buying one type of speaker based on
yeah,
the amplifier that you buy.
yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Um, Oh, also another thing that people I've noticed that a few people I've worked with get confused is the low impedance speaker system and 100-volt line speaker system. So the anyone who is out of the loop would assume that you just hook bits and pieces together in a large restaurant where they've got like 20 speakers. That's
Yeah,
not necessarily the case at all. So with a low impedance amplifier and a low impedance speaker, the absolute most amount of speakers that you could ever possibly get is 3 per channel. So say for example you have a 2-channel amplifier, you could only ever get 6 speakers out of it, and
yeah.
even then you might still blow your amplifier up.
Okay.
So they needed to come up with a solution. So they worked out that if you have a transformer on the inside of the amplifier that's a 100-volt step down transformer, and on the speaker end you have a 100-volt step up transformer, you
Yeah.
can get somewhat similar results, but you can, instead of having a maximum of 6 speakers, you can have like 15 per channel.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
So that way you can cover a lot more ground with the same equipment. Some people get those two confused, and if you put a 100-volt line amplifier on a low impedance amplifier, the speaker is trying to draw something like 300 watts, but the amplifier is going, hang on, I can only produce 100. So it ends up just cooking the amplifier, and the amplifier just shuts off or blows up.
Yeah.
But those are the main sort of. That's where I've seen most people get confused about is, coupling speakers to amplifiers and the two main systems. Other than that, I'm not sure where it could be confusing, but that's just me. Sorry, I'm not being very entertaining right now. I'm just trying to think my heart out.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be pretty complicated from the sounds of it, but I think you could probably work it all out and whatnot in the end.
Yeah. EQ is just EQ, compression is just compression. You can't blow anything up if you get those wrong.
Yeah.
Except for people's ears, I guess.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with a good old fucking ear bleed from noise.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things wrong with it, but it is what it is. But yeah, just kind of excited for things to come. Slowly getting there with my future PC building. So hopefully by my
how's that coming
birthday,
along?
next year, I'll have saved up enough money to have everything together. It's
Nice.
going to take me a while because I'm at the expensive stage: CPU, motherboard, and
Oh
GPU,
yeah.
and then obviously I need to get RAM as well. So
Yeah.
so it's gonna be expensive. I've got most of the parts already. People will like to me like, why do you have all the parts? I'm like, well, the problem is at the moment we're having a bit of in Australia, we're having a bit of a tech shortage where like things just take ages to restock, and once it's bought up, it's bought up. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
going to have the warranty from the shops, but I still have warranty from the manufacturers. So it'll be less than a year old that I've had all this stuff for, so should be alright. It's just a bit more long process for RMA and whatnot if things go wrong. But yeah,
Oh yeah.
it's just the only way I could do it. That's all.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So what else? Oh man. So what else is a lot of fun in audio? So I'm trying to think. Oh, here's something that sort of confused me for years, even though it's super
Yeah.
duper simple. It's this knob on large scale consoles called CUE, and essentially all that is just an auxiliary send designed for to go to, instead of going to equipment, it goes
Yeah.
to headphones that then your musicians are listening to, and then they can play along with the main 2-track.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a lot. I think I've once worked on a 48 channel semi-analog or hybrid analog console a few years ago. It's called an SSL Duality SE. They're a lot of fun to work with. Kind of wish I knew a bit more about it, so that way I could have a bit more fun when I was recording. But what's it? It's got your it's got your preamp, which are some of the noisiest preamps I've ever worked with in my entire life. They're so noisy.
Why is it so? How does coil wine work? Because I'd imagine that's with a lot of these electronics things. It's like you get coil wine as the power's going through it. Is it basically just like the electricity running through the coil and then it just sets off like a frequency? Is that pretty much all it is?
I actually do know the answer to this question, believe it or not. So, you know how transformers work? So,
Yeah, you've explained to it briefly.
okay, so essentially with a voice coil,
Yeah.
couple windings around a voice coil, what happens is that when you push a positive or a negative polarity through this voice coil, it produces a magnetic field.
Yeah.
And inside of a speaker, there's a fixed magnet. I worked out with my niece that the magnet is positively charged, which means it has a deficiency of electrons. When you push positive current, when you push positive current through it, is in a deficiency of electric charge in terms of polarity through a copper voice coil. It produces a magnetic field, and when you have a magnetic field, two magnetic fields that are likewise to each other, they repel each other, and that's how your speaker cone pushes out.
Yeah.
And so, and there's the opposite an opposite way. You have a magnet that's positively charged, and you put in a negative charge through the copper turnings. It produces an attractive force, and that's how your speaker cone gets sucked in a little bit further.
Yeah.
So, if you've ever seen music, or you've ever seen how music works in terms of like strength and polarity, That's just that's all voltage that's running through that voice coil, and is
Yeah.
telling the speaker where to be relative to that voltage. So more positive voltage, the further out it gets, more negative voltage, the further in the speaker gets.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of electronics, this is actually really cool. So, those that those copper windings don't actually work. They don't really produce a magnetic field
Yeah.
unless they're. I'm pretty sure unless they're. Um, no, I think I just wasn't putting enough voltage into it. Never mind. So if under an alternating current, they actually become a what's called a frequency dependent resistor. So um let's see. So what are they called? Inductors. They're called inductors. And
Yeah.
they are a natural low pass filter. So if you run voltage through it at a certain frequency, excuse me, if you run voltage through it and increase the frequency of that voltage, you'll actually find that the output voltage diminishes over time before it just completely stops coming through.
Yeah.
And so you can utilize that to make a low pass filter by taking the output of that. You send full bandwidth into the voice into that inductor, and then it'll just naturally reduce frequency over time over the bandwidth. You take the output of that, which is all your low frequencies, and you send it into a transistor based amplifier, and you can turn that up or down,
Yeah.
and that way you can make something sound muddier or clearer. There's a few ways of making low pass filters, but that's like one of the first ways to do it.
Yeah.
Um, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Sort of. Changing subject though, did you
Yeah.
hear that? So Tika Waititi, I always butcher his name, the director that did the Marvel movie Ragnarok and like Thor Ragnarok and Thor Love and Thunder, which a lot of people did not like that movie, and that's understandable. It
No,
was
I never
kind of a little
watched
annoying.
those.
Anyway, so he is working on one of the new Star Wars films,
Oh yeah.
and he turned around and said to press that his Star Wars movie is gonna piss off a lot of people.
Oh god, that's always good. Why?
Because it's gonna have his spin-off on it. And
I don't even know what that means.
so he's a Kiri,
Mm.
and his comedy is very Australian Kiri, sort of like, our two
Okay.
cultures is very similar, and so it's like that, like, bit of serious, bit of like comedy mixed in with it. Like it's sort of, it feels like it doesn't know what it wants sometimes. Sometimes it can work, sometimes it doesn't. Like it didn't work that well in Love and Thunder. Um, so he's currently writing the script himself for the movie. Now, Star Wars is dead to me. I'm a Star Wars fan. I have books and everything, but it is a little dead to me. So if he can pull it off and make something different than what we normally get in Star Wars, I won't have a problem with it. As long as he does his research and keeps the Disney universe in sync, doesn't do wacky things that doesn't make sense in that universe, I'm okay. Because we need something different. Like, he will piss off probably diehard fans. And I would much rather a comedy come out of the Star Wars universe than something like Obi-Wan Kenobi, something like the latest 3 movies of Star Wars
Yeah.
franchise. Something like Boba Fett. That was terrible. Et cetera, et cetera. Like, those movies were serious, but they just didn't hit the mark. They just weren't great. So if there's a comedy that can make me laugh and it's still Star Wars themed, I probably wouldn't mind it so much. But fingers crossed he can make it work. If he doesn't make it work, then it'll just be like Love and Thunder. It'll be like, that was bad. And then you just move on. So, yeah. So it'll be interesting. And on other news, did I tell you this? So you know how South Park made the Pandaverse in their latest episode special where they paid out Disney?
Yeah.
So there's been more news on that one. So Disney sat down, Kathleen Kennedy, who's the other guy? It's another guy in the executive group of Disney. They sat down with the two blokes at South Park.
Yeah.
Is it Matt and... I always forget their names.
No, I don't remember.
I can't remember his names. I used to know it, but I just can't fucking think of it right now. But anyway, sat down with the creators of them and basically blames them for Disney's downfall.
Oh, wow.
They're saying that if they release the next two parts of this South Park special, because some parts, that they will take legal action against them because it's defamation, which it's not, because it's comedy satire. It's literally a different universe in a made-up world. Like
that's only going to encourage Troy Baker, and I can't remember the other guy's name. That's literally going to encourage them, because that's literally what made South Park, is taking these figures and then really pissing them off.
They literally have a disclaimer at the start of every episode saying that this does not represent the real people in the world.
I'm pretty sure that claim, it's like a really unique disclaimer.
Yeah.
It's like, this should not be viewed by anyone.
Yeah. It's...
Yeah. I'm actually, hang on, I'll look up the South Park disclaimer right now.
It's literally the start of every fucking episode that's been going on for how long? How old South Park? South Park's over 20 years?
Over 20 years at this point.
20 years old. And it's been going on from the get-go. People have tried suing South Park from Scientology to many other people over the years, and they lose every time because, one, it's freedom of speech, two, it's comedy satire, three, it's a fucking cartoon universe that sole premise is to make mockery of the world we live in. That is literally the whole point of it. It's for us to watch something and go, that's true because it's funny. Like that sort of thing.
I've got the disclaimer up here.
All right, read it out.
All right. All characters and events in this show, even those based on real people, are entirely fictional. All celebrity voices are impersonated poorly. The following program contains coarse language, and due to its content, it should not be viewed by anyone. That is like one of the most unique disclaimers. I don't think we'll ever get a disclaimer like it ever again. I love it. It's just like, this shouldn't be viewed by anyone. It's like, there is no legal recourse you can take when the show... excuse me. When the show that you watch specifically states that no one should watch this.
So they're going to lose the court, and I hope they fight them the court, because fuck Disney, that's why. And it is true that Disney sales have gone down. People unsubscribe to Disney Plus. I'm going to unsubscribe to Disney Plus soon as well. I just need to hurry up and finish Loki. I haven't even started it yet. That's the only reason why I've kept it, is for that. But I really need to... sorry about the dogs barking if you can hear them back.
That's all right.
I really need to... I fucking lost what I was saying then. Anyway, point is...
Yeah, unsubscribe from Disney Plus.
Yeah, I need to unsubscribe from Disney Plus, because it's just not interested. Even Star Wars, I'm just not interested. Like, I watched the end of Ahsoka, I'm like, that's it? 8 episodes? Really? Really? Fuck you. Seriously. I hate this whole fucking 8 episodes, 6 episodes. It's not even a season. Like, come on. It's half a season. What happened to the old days where a season consists of 12 episodes?
Yeah.
Like, fuck you. I'm not watching this shit anymore. Fuck over it. Such money grabbing. But the thing is, they're losing money because they are producing shit content that no one likes. And then they go and blame South Park. It's because of you. And Kathleen Kennedy's like, oh, your depiction of me has hurt my reputation. No, what hurt your reputation was when you went on the set of Mandalorian 3
Oh god.
and made them change the whole script. That is where your reputation fucking goes out the door, when something that could have been great and you decide to put your own spin on it and then twist it in your own bloody way and you make it terrible, or the poor handling just in PR. You know, the whole Last Jedi thing, the way you carried on and helped Ryan Johnson and that other actor turn it into a fucking sexism thing. It's like, it was nothing to do with sexism. It was to do with a poorly written character, whether it would be any race or gender, doesn't matter. It was poorly written. That was what the problem was. But no, you focus on the small little minority people that had a problem because she was a woman, and they're probably like 1.1% of the fucking argument. But you focus on them and then you make it a fucking agenda thing. That is where your reputation goes out the window. Not because of
just give us good Star Wars
cartoon.
content. That's literally all we wanted.
Yeah, just like resign
Talk
from the
about
job.
like complicated.
Hell, even if
complicated relationships.
Even if she because I bet money she's excellent at the sourcing money, at the backing, at the the administration side of things. I bet you she's actually really fucking good at that sort of stuff. Like, she's probably really good at that, because there's no reason why Disney would put her in a position like that if she wasn't good at that stuff. So maybe how about just step back and let the people who actually have a passion about what they're doing, let them just do their thing, and you just make sure that it's legally sound, and that's all you need to worry about. You let them deal with all this stuff. Then that way, when it goes shit, they take the blame, not you, because you didn't have anything to do with it. Because most executives and stuff like that, we don't even know their names in a lot of industries. Like, do you know the Sony executives, Spliffy?
No.
I don't either. I don't know who's responsible for the latest Mistress Reb or whatever the fucking the new Sony Spider-Man movie they're bringing out, spin-off. Because that Madam Web, that's what they're calling it. It looks terrible, by the way. Looks like it's going to be a crap movie. But, like, point is I don't know who the Sony executive is, because he stays behind closed doors and doesn't come out. I think it's a dude. Could be wrong. No, it doesn't matter. But, yeah. So, whatever. It is what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. But apparently Australia's going into a real hot season. I can already feel
It wouldn't surprise me.
I can already feel it.
But I actually prefer summer over winter.
Yeah. Unless it's 40 degrees and above, then it gets really annoying.
Yeah, I suppose so.
If it's in that 30 mark, it's not so bad. Like 31, 32, 37 would be good, I think.
Yeah. I could deal with 32. That's fine.
Yeah, or 35 even is not that bad. It's warm, but it's not bad. Good beach weather, though. But,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I found out... can't say 100% sure. I was talking about the shark attack the other day?
Yeah.
So I found out through someone who knows someone, because everyone where I live knows everyone. They're a surf lifesaver at that local beach, and they were there the day that it all happened too. So apparently, what happened was the person jumped on a hammerhead shark.
Why would you?
So when they
accidentally?
Yeah, it was accidentally, but it was
Okay.
They jumped off the reef and there was a hammerhead shark underneath them. So
Oh,
that
God,
is why
that
their
is
face got bitten.
Shit.
I knew that it had to be something like human error. Because I was like thinking, I'm like, it couldn't be any, because her partner turned around and said it was a great right, which I'm like, bullshit. it was a great
Pretty sure
riot,
she
you wouldn't have a
face, and
head.
It was a great
You,
way.
you wouldn't have a head.
Yeah.
Your head would be gone. The bite of a great riot, even a small one, is bigger than a human head. So
Yeah.
you wouldn't have a head left. And even like a bronzy or even a bronzy, like if a bronzy was to bite you in the head, you wouldn't have much of a face either because they're fairly large sharks. Their mouth,
Mm.
when they open their mouth, your head's pretty much a fit in their mouth. So I was like thinking it could be like a wobbegong or like some sort of shark with a mouth small enough to be able to bite your face but not kill you. Like it would obviously mince your face up but not kill you. And then when she said it was a hammerhead, I'm like, that makes sense because they got small mouths, so
Yeah.
you would like latch on like that. Because we do get hammerheads down here.
I think
don't-
we get all sharks down here.
Yeah, we do. They don't get very big though. I've seen a few of them. I don't know why people are scared of them though, because hammerheads are probably the most timid out of the sharks. Like very rarely they'll go near you.
Because they're shaped like a utensil.
Well, in the wild, hammerheads get picked on by a lot of different different other sea life. Gropers fucking will chase them off. I've seen other sharks will chase them off, like a grey nurse will chase off a hammerhead. If like a hammerhead was to annoy it, bronzies would definitely chase and probably eat a hammerhead if it had the chance. Because they don't get big. Well, they do get big in some areas in Australia, but they don't get like as big as say the American hammerheads. Some of the species of the American hammers they get quite big, but here they don't get very big. Like you're talking about sharks that probably the longest they get is like your arm span. So they don't get that big.
All right.
Yeah, they're not a very big shark. You can get them a few meters, but not. They're not huge. Let's have a look. About 4 meters. So it's not that big. Yeah. Smooth hammerheads reach little more than 4 meters.
That's not too. Well,
The great hammerhead grows to about 6 meters long. They're the ones that go up to America and Africa and all that area as well.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But usually the ones we more get here are like relatively small. But yeah, like you look at their mouth. They got a very small mouth. I've swum with hammerheads. They're very placid. Very timid though. You go near them, they just fucking they lose their shit. This is a grey nurse shark. They're pretty chill. Very, very docile.
Oh, hey, how's it going?
These guys, I get a lot of these guys down my way.
The crabs.
No, blue-ringed octopus. Blue-ringed octopus. The venomous octopus that you do not want to fuck with. These guys are tiny too. Like I've was in like the tidal pools, whatnot, lifting rocks and stuff like that, and you see them, they're fucking so small. But you got to be careful with them because when they have eggs, they secrete poison. Would you consider it poison or venom? If it's something that's
venom
secreted,
if it's injected,
yeah,
if
not
you
injected
eat
though.
it and it kills you, it's poison.
It's
if
not
it gets injected into you and you die, it's venom.
Yeah, but it's not. So they themselves are venomous, so they will bite and inject venom into you.
Yeah.
But when they're breeding, they secrete toxins and coat around the area where the eggs are laying. So when you touch it, you absorb the
venom.
But it doesn't inject in you though. It's absorbed through your skin. Yeah, but poison dart frogs are poisonous, and you can absorb them through your skin. That's regarded as a poison.
You don't eat that. Yeah, well, no. If you ingest it and it kills you, it's poisonous.
I don't know. That's a little bit of a grey area for me on that one, but they themselves are 100% venomous, yes, but it's a toxin no matter what that you absorb
Yeah,
in your skin.
don't eat them.
Yeah, don't go near them. These guys are good old lionfish. They're fun. I've always wanted to swim with these guys. Go down to Port Pirie. Is it Port Pirie or Port Lincoln? I can't bloody remember. And go join the great giant cuttlefish migration and watch them all breed and stuff. I think that'll be an awesome experience to see these guys. They're pretty cool. I've seen an albatross. They're not that fancy. Yeah, they're a giant bird, but I mean, look at them. They look weird. Obviously great whites, hermit crabs. They're everywhere up north. We get these guys down our way too. They're gorgeous.
Crabs everywhere.
Wait, what? We get mantis shrimp? No way.
Of course, you'll lick a blue ring octopus, Ray. They're really poison in the wild.
I didn't know mantis shrimp live here. I've never seen one.
You have to go looking a little harder.
These
as
are the
far as I
guys-
know, Reggie, the rule of thumb is that if you eat it and you die, it's poisonous. But maybe that rule of thumb was made up later on in life.
Oh, he's talking about the poison dart frogs, I think. Because he's right. They are only poisonous in the wild because they eat foods in their ecosystem that allows them to generate the neurotoxins.
Right, that's what
Yeah,
you mean.
they are poisonous though. They aren't venomous. They are poisonous. But the blue ring octopus secretion, I'll say, around their breeding area, I don't know whether that's would you consider.
That's venomous.
Yeah, I don't know because it's slightly different to the venom that they bite you with, though. So I don't know.
So,
It could be because it's diluted, maybe because it's not being envenomated directly into you. It's diluted in the water. I've gone up. So I was like looking in the reef, like when I was in New Caledonia, I was swimming around. And the rule of thumb when it comes to in the sea is you don't stick your head in things or just go in things that you can't see what's inside it. And so I dive down to the bottom and I have a look-sees. And right a couple of meters away, like a meter and a half away from me, was this big head of a moray eel. It's fucking huge. And I'm looking at this fucker and he's looking at me and I'm like, you're cool, but this is the closest I'm getting. And I just sort of swam away because these guys will chase you. Like if you get if they get quite pissed off with you.
right. Oh god, that would be fucking terrifying.
Actually, what's really funny? Leather
Swimming
jackets
through the sea and you see this fucking noodle chase after you.
Yeah, these guys are cool though. You can swim alongside these. They're so placid, sea snakes. They're so cool.
Like, oh hey,
Most
that's not where
venomous.
snakes belong.
They're the most venomous snakes in the world too. Did you know that? Sea snakes have a stronger venom.
Sounds like the code got extra bug.
Yeah.
They're super venomous and they're not where they belong.
Yeah, they basically look like a sea brown snake to me. Like,
Right.
head and whatnot.
A copperhead?
No, brown snake.
Okay.
Yeah, they look like one of these guys. They look like one of these guys.
Oh, when you take them out of the water.
No, just their head looks like them.
Oh, okay.
We get these guys all over the place. They are the second world's most venomous snake, and they're everywhere. People say that, like, they won't go you and stuff like that, but they're pretty aggro. I will say this. Like, I have come across many. Some are pretty placid. Some just want to get away with you, and some will just rear up like that and just chase you away to get you away from them. It's defensive. They don't necessarily gonna bite you. Honestly, if you don't fuck with them, the chances of being bitten by them is very, very low.
Yeah,
But
but I
other
guess
than
that goes
that,
for everything too.
yeah. See if I can. See if this video they
Hi everyone, and welcome back.
yeah,
For a short
like if we watch this
educational
little
video.
education video.
Watch
We got a little.
volume.
Let's watch this education video from Ross McGibbon Reptile Photography. This guy's pretty cool. He has a lot of different videos and stuff because he goes around taking photos of snakes. And I've had like this one where he's like, "Oh, you're a nice little fella," and it's like just keeps chasing him, and it's like, "You're not very happy, are you?"
On the defensive
yeah.
behavior of an eastern brown snake, which is the snake in Australia that a lot of
See,
people
I've seen them
believe
do
they've
this
been
where
chased
they're
by.
like
Now, as I
go straight
replay
down a
this
hole.
footage for you, you can see the snake is clearly advancing towards me, and it even
Oh,
looks
they're
like
gone.
it takes a lunge at me. But what I'll do now is I'll slow this footage
But he
down
was
so
heading
you can
straight
see
to that
every
hole.
movement the snake makes, and you'll be able to see clearly that the snake's intent is just to put me on the back foot until it can reach safety.
Oh, man.
And what we need to
I was about to say,
understand is
Yeah.
imagine doing voiceovers of that with this sort of thing, but I remembered Aussie Man reviews.
And a threat
Yeah.
to their life. So the number one priority for this animal is to get to its last known safe point, and that's on the other side.
Yeah.
So what it's going to do, it's going to advance towards me to get me to retreat. So as soon as it can put some distance between us, it can go for safety. And you can see here, this is exactly when the snake has an opportunity to bite,
Yeah.
but it doesn't choose to do so.
Zoom in for
What it does
dramatic
is, as I
effect.
pull my foot back, it gets a bit scared,
He
it
is
flinches
right
to the side
100%
and heads
on
for
this
its
one.
last known safe point,
What?
which is in the
But
soil cracks
I
on the side of
have
the road.
experienced
Now, if I can
wild
get the
brown
general public
snakes
to take
still
away
go me.
one piece of information from this video, it's that snakes are not
I've had them
aggressive
hit the car
and they're not
door.
trying to chase you with
So,
intent to
like,
bite you. When
There
you
was
see
crossing
this
the road. It was a
defensive
big
behavior and you mistake
fucking
it for a snake
big
chasing
one.
you, all it's
It
doing
was
is
crossing the
trying to get
road.
you on
I
the back
slowed
foot,
down. I
so
moved to
that
the
it
left
can
of the
get
road.
to
It
the
was going
nearest
to the right of the
safety,
road.
because it has absolutely no
And I was
reason to
watching
take
it,
on
and as
human.
I'm
The
slowly
only thing a
driving
snake is
past
gonna
it,
chase with intent to bite,
immediately
venom,
turned around
or
and went
prey items,
fucking
and humans
whack
just aren't on
straight
that
on the
list.
car door.
And this would explain why there's so many drive bites.
It hit the car door. It was trying to bite the car.
And doesn't inject any venom. And there's a rough statistic out there about eastern browns that they envenomate
Just
people
give
only
them
50% of the
distance.
time they
You know, if
bite,
it's heading
which means
towards
that they're giving
you,
every
try going
opportunity
to the
get
right
away
of
and
it or
leave
go to
you
the left of
alone,
it.
and
Don't
their
keep going
intent isn't to
backwards
bite and
because
envenomate you like a lot of people would have you believe. All right,
he's right, but you can get individuals that are extremely defensive and aggressive in that defensive, so they might actually try to bite you. Best thing to do is just move out of their
If you've
path
enjoyed this video,
instead of
please
like
like and
do what he says
subscribe.
where you keep going backwards. He would be right like 99% of the time, but that 0.1% of the time, you can get one that will just wrong time, wrong day, you know, it's just not having you and not having you at all. So it's just best to avoid the animals if you don't know what you're doing. That is, like, I could probably do what he's doing because I know the distance between me and the snake that I would be comfortable, and I know the snake wouldn't. If it was to just change and just go me, lunge at me, I would be a safe distance there. Couldn't snag me. But they're not like out there to kill you is basically what I'm getting at. He's right. He's right in the sense that it's not trying to kill you. It's not trying to hurt you. It just wants to get to safety. But depending on the season and depending on the individual animal you're dealing with, it can lunge at you. Might not necessarily bite you, but that's not a chance you're willing to take, though. Because if it does bite you and does envenomate you, and you're in the middle of nowhere, you're going to have a bad time. So,
yeah, to put it mildly.
Yeah. They do have good eyesight, so standing still doesn't necessarily work either. So, yeah, I usually, like, if a snake's heading towards me and it's doing that defensive thing, I know that it probably knows there's a hidey hole behind me, so I'll just step to the right. So I'll, like, come back and to the right like that, so I curve away from the snake. And generally, it will keep going straight to its hole. And then, you know, both me and the snake are happy because, you know, the snake's made it to safety and I haven't impeded the snake's reaching that safety. So that's the way I look at it. Because, like I said, I've had a brown snake go me. The car one, you know, I was driving left and it just It must have thought that I was getting really close. Like I could see its tail and everything, so I know I didn't run it over. It just, I don't know, it was very grumpy. And then the second time was I was young, and we walked upon the snake. There was a big female, and she immediately lunged at us. And like, we were young kids, so like the snake rearing up was like level with our head.
Yeah.
Because we're small, not adults, and
that makes sense.
it went straight for us. I mean, we backed away and then it ran away. But point is, it was willing to defend itself. So if you don't know what you're doing, you don't know how to read body language and whatnot, it's best to just avoid it. Don't get in their way. Leave them alone.
Yeah.
You'll be fine. So yeah. Yeah. Oh, fucking hell, man. I had a good sleep last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
How was sushi? How was your sushi?
I didn't have
was it
sushi. It was
ramen? That was
ramen.
probably ramen.
Yeah, ramen was really good. We ended up cooking. So me and Ray make a ramen dish. It's spicy, but not crazy. So it's like a pork ramen dish. So we have eggs, seaweed, broken up seaweeds in it. We spring onions, make the broth, and like we go full. It took us like an hour and a half to cook it last night. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work for so good food. Because everything's made fresh, so we do everything ourselves. So yeah, it's quite nice. Quite nice. I got leftover pork actually that I'm going to have for lunch after this. So that's going to be good. Looking forward to that. But yeah, I like cooking. I like we also make homemade tenderloins. So we get like chicken breasts and we cut them up in lines and then we put them in batter and whatnot and then cook them up.
Yeah.
So yeah, or hamburgers, make good chicken burgers and whatnot. Good hamburger meat and whatnot. I like cooking. Ray does too.
No, cooking is a lot of fun.
It is. It is. The one thing I don't like about cooking is doing the dishes. I fucking hate dishes.
Yeah. I think we're all in the same boat there.
Yeah, if you don't have a dishwasher, have a big ass sink.
Yeah.
You know, my favorite sinks are the stainless steel big ones.
Can you still get porcelain sinks?
Yeah. Yeah, my
I
mum's got
didn't
one.
realize you could. I thought it was all stainless steel.
Yeah, mum's is ceramic, which I don't like.
Yeah.
Because the ceramic, you can't just pour hot water into it. You have to bring it up to temperature or have cold water in there. So yeah, you got to be careful with it because otherwise it can crack.
Yeah.
And it's got so many chips and stuff for people just throwing dishes in the kitchen sink because that's what you do. So it's got so many chips. I like the look of it. It looks nice, but it's just not practical.
Yeah.
But it's a big
Stainless
like
steel is a lot
like
better.
it's the size of my computer desk, my IKEA computer desk. It is it's a big sink. You can fit everything in it. You can fit all your dishes, like 3 nights worth of dishes in the sink.
Oh wow!
Amazing! I love it. And when I build, I want a sink that big because it's just pots and pans are annoying in normal sinks because like you put it in there and only half of it's submerged, and then you have to sit down and go spin around. I'd rather just the whole thing be able to fit in there, like.
It's much more practical to fit all your dishes in.
Yeah, like something like this size is perfect.
You just fill your whole house up with water and say, "Yep, now I get that all the dishes done."
Well, it's cheaper. It's cheaper to have one of these sinks than it is to run a dishwasher.
Yeah.
Use less water. Where did I put it? Did I put it in? Yeah. I just did it on my normal Google tabs, and now I'm going to get fucking target advertising for sinks.
It's such a peculiar.
So yeah, that
hey,
size.
you went into the market for a sink.
That size there is perfect.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I like that. I don't like these ovens. They're never big enough.
Mm,
I prefer the oven stove combos because they're usually a lot bigger. So
yeah.
because I like to be able to fit. I think an effective oven is an oven where you can have 3 levels and fit 2 food trays side by side on each level. Because when you only have like a lot of ovens, there's only like 2 levels, but you can't fit trays. So if you can't fit more than 2 trays in an oven, I think it's useless because it's such a pain in the ass when you're doing roasts. Because like most of the time you do roast for 2 nights, right? So
Yeah.
that's 2 trays of veggies, and now where the fuck are you gonna put your roast? You know what I mean? Like it's stupid. So if it's not gonna be wide, it should be deep. At least like with that, there's 2 ovens there, so that's not so bad. But that's more power you're using though. That's the problem because that's 2 ovens essentially.
Yeah.
Because I'd imagine there'll be a motor for that one and a motor for that one. Where if you just had one big one, it's one motor that's generating electricity. So. And gas is better than electric because I hate electric. Gas is more reliable. Gas will always work. Electrics are funky things and they're expensive to replace and they don't last forever. But that sink is the size that I was talking about, and stainless is the best, obviously,
Yeah.
because you can just pour hot water straight into it. You can just throw your shit in there; it'll be fine. You know, the ceramic ones are a bit,
A bit more finicky.
Yeah, you got to be real careful with them. They look nice, and stainless looks nice too. But but yeah, you just got to be careful because they're expensive. Crack them.
Yeah.
Have you seen those? Have you seen these fucking things going around on the works?
Which ones?
They're like these real fancy sinks.
No, I haven't.
I'll show you.
Excuse me.
They're like real fancy sinks. How do we go to sinks? Anyway, so like it's
We're
got all
talking
these
about ramen.
and then like so you got these like trays that like slide in, you got knife holders and shit like that. Fuck off. And then you've got this tray so you can wash your vegetables in it, and some of these have like a little a cup cleaner, so it goes on top of there,
Yeah.
and you like put your cup and press
those
down on it,
things,
and
like,
it washes
fizz
inside.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen those at cafes and whatnot.
Yeah. I would not buy a sink like
Nah, it seems a
that.
little bit too convoluted and hard to take care of.
It's very expensive. Yeah. And like maintenance parts, like can you imagine? Oh, by the way, that's it there. Maintenance
So-
parts, and I just put up.
Oh, right.
Yeah. one of
Okay.
these. Yeah. I was like talking about it, and I realized that I hadn't clicked the browsing. Yeah. Yes. Oh. I'm so fucking tired now.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I was like up and ready because we had bacon and eggs for breakfast this morning. And
Oh, fuck yeah.
That's why I was running late because I also had to pop to the shops and get week supply, like food supplies and stuff like that. But yeah, I was running late this morning because of that because I had to run to the shops quickly. I had some
I
guy
was running late because I was in bed.
I had some guy come up to me, like, I get to the shop car park. Some guy goes up to me and goes, "Hi, man, I'm just trying to raise some money. Have you got silver coins on you?" And I'm like,
Silver coins.
I'm looking at this guy. He's got a cigarette in his mouth.
He's got a cigarette in his mouth.
He's got a cigarette in his mouth, yeah. And he and he's wearing like an expensive like weather shield jacket. They always wear Adidas jackets or something like that. I don't know why, but he's wearing like a red and orange designer brand jacket type thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like he's washed it in a while. He's wearing just normal shoes and whatnot. Like he wasn't that rough around the edges. A bit rough, but like more Darrow than that. And and he's like, "Yeah, you got silver coins." I'm like, "Sorry, mate, I don't carry cash." And he goes, "Oh, it's fucking everybody these days." And I'm like thinking, yeah.
You may have noticed a pattern by now.
Yeah. Like, because he like approached me too, like saw me walk into the shops and just immediately beelines and asked me. I'm just like,
Oh, what?
no,
So
I don't carry
weird.
cash, man. Sorry. Fuck off.
Once a couple of weeks ago, I had someone approach me. They're
Yeah.
like, "Hey, man, you want to buy some uh so like first edition Transformers stuff and first edition Alien stuff?"
Yeah.
I immediately look at him and say, "No, man, like that stuff's not my jam." And he's like, "Damn it!" I think he got scammed and was trying to get his money back through somebody else
Yeah.
because it looked like crap. It literally looked like junk.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't give money to, even if I have money, I don't give money to them.
No,
You shouldn't. You shouldn't give money to anybody that's begging for money in our country. You're just basically enabling them.
yeah, and the ones who typically need it are the ones who are like
They don't ask.
definitely coked out and like scream, like just having like trip outs in the middle of the street. I've had that happen a couple of times where like someone is just screaming their lungs out
I found
for
the
like
people
no reason.
that deserve handouts are usually the ones that never ask for a handout.
Yeah.
They're the ones fleeing from someone, and all they want is a place to stay. Generally, people addicts that are under the influence and just don't deserve help. In a lot of the cases, because the ones that do want help and try to get help, they usually get help from the many avenues that our support system has. So generally, you don't see them around. It's usually the ones that just don't give a shit about life. So they're always like trying to get money for cigarettes or drugs, or there's this one crackhead that hangs around my mum's work begging people for money. And one day someone gave him a hot chook. She bought a hot chook for him. And she's like, here, because he's asking for money for food. He's literally got a sign, please give me money for food. So she gives him food, and he threw it at her and was like, I don't want your fucking food, you fucking bitch.
It'd be a fucking blue if
oh
that
my
happened.
God. And he was arrested.
Yeah, I bet.
And
Good.
and she's like horrified, and everyone, like all the workers, like, yeah, he doesn't want food, he wants drugs. She's like, why does he have a sign about him? Because no one's gonna give him money if it's a sign saying give me money for drugs. Use your brain.
That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, he like fully lost his shit at her and like fucking like assaulted her with a cooked chook. What he has. But yeah, this is why he does it, because people give him handouts. If people didn't give him handouts, he wouldn't harass people for it. So yeah, and he steals from people too. He steals from the store all the time. They banned him from the store, and he still always comes back because he's always so methed out. He doesn't know where he is.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think it's time for us to end the show. Let's see who we can rate into. You know anybody?
Let's see. Let's rate into Iron Mouse.
Do you reckon anybody? She's not even. Is she actually?
She's live at the moment. I'm just saying that.
I don't think it would work.
Yeah, it's like, do you think there's some sort of threshold to be able to rate in? Otherwise, you just get continuously rated into.
You normally don't do this. Normally, you don't, because there's like an ethic thing on Twitch. They're like, you can't rate into people. You can't rate into people bigger than you or something like that. But I bet you she's got something. I want to try it though.
You're gonna.
All right, for full disclaimer. Yeah. I am not doing this to try and get any attention from anybody. Particularly,
we're just doing this because we think it's fucking funny.
Yeah, we're doing this because we think it's funny, and I have a funny feeling it's not going to work anyway.
Yeah, I just
want to see if this works. So what we're going to do? We're going to stay in this.
Yeah.
Chat, and we're going to see if we can do it. I very much doubt this is going to work. Right, I just want to see, because I can always like put the name down and then go to do the raid, and then just cancel it, and then I thought so. Yeah, I thought so.
No.
Yeah, no. Her settings is set to can't. She's probably got a set that you have to be partnered
Oh,
to raid
right.
into her. I bet you that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's okay. What we can do, we can raid into Minty Mori.
Yeah, let's do that.
Raid into good old Minty Mori. See what they were all up to. They were playing Slay the Spire. All right, let's do it. All right, thank you, everybody. I hope you have a good day/night, depending where you are in the world. And we'll catch you next time on Wednesday. So, yeah, catch you later.